GLA colleagues, and the discussion was, around that, whilst there are some guidance within the London plan about how to proceed and looking at the SLA, that they accepted and acknowledged that a number of boroughs had used the London plan figure and rolled that forward as an appropriate solution, which had been examined and gone through the process. Now, since then, Angela's done quite a lot of work looking at and comparing the land availability versus that London target. And again, without getting into too much detail and the detail that we will discuss tomorrow, we feel that that's an appropriate figure and solution given the available land that we have identified through and updated as part of our SLA, but also thought there. Yes, in terms of looking at the higher figure, the local housing needs, there is just simply no way that we have deliverable available sites to meet that figure moving forward, or even now.
Guidance in the London plan in terms of how councils can approach setting a housing target beyond the 10-year period, in terms of the guidance looking at capacity within SLAs, etc., whether GLA that the council had every option and had gone through the correct process.
Yeah, the GLA haven't raised this as a matter of soundness or general conformity with the London plan, and statement of common ground has been signed and agreed. In practice, it seems like a pragmatic approach to us, as well as a pragmatic approach to other local authorities that have been in the examination process. I think it's also important to say that given the timescale beyond the 10-year period, we would anticipate a new London plan being adopted and new local plan adopted, and corresponding to the National Planning Policy Framework 5-year review.
I think the plan does go up to 2040, so we need to make sure that it is robust. Period. Yes, Miss.
Yeah, just to add to that, I do recall that we had discussions with the GLA, and they were happy that we go with the approach that we've gone with. In particular, we did use the London-wide SLA as the basis for our housing supply. Initially, when we started the process way back in 2018, we had a significant input into the London SLA, and that then fed into ours. So in terms of the actual outcome, there wouldn't be much difference anyway. Yes, and also the GLA did express concerns about some London boroughs who were trying to go beyond the target that the London plan had already set for. We'd also had discussions with the Duty to Cooperate group, who specifically raised the issue, should we go for the LHN figure? And all of those individual boroughs agreed that we should be sticking to the London plan, and that the area where targets need to increase is through the London plan process, which, just for the record, they are starting that again now. So a new London SLA is starting to be worked upon.
Okay, thank you. We touched on the discussions that took place in relation to potential for other authorities to meet the LHN figure potentially, and I'm assuming that the reason that they couldn't meet your LHN figure that you couldn't accommodate within Lewisham was due to difficulties to meeting their own need, never mind taking on anybody else's need.
Yes, absolutely, that is the case. And also issues of deliverability as well, which we'll come on to later matters. But we have a number of our southeast London boroughs who are in the presumption in favour of sustainable development because of delivery issues and matters of delivery. So yes, they've been very clear that the challenge for them is to accommodate their housing need and to anticipate either falling into the housing delivery test threshold of 20% buffer or accommodating that on top of them.
Okay, thank you for that. I think we can, obviously there are other issues to explore in relation to the housing target, which we can get in more detail tomorrow. I just wanted to focus on the discussions in terms of the engagement on those issues. So we can return to that tomorrow. Moving on to employment.
Right, so looking at the topic of employment and industrial capacity, so thinking about those discussions that you've had, we'll get into the details in matter 6, but looking at cooperation and engagement, so could you just give us a quick summary of who you've engaged with and where we've got to, because on employment and industrial land there has been ongoing work we're aware of, so just bring us up to speed of where we've got to, please.
I think in terms of industrial employment capacity, because that is, I think, fundamentally the principal issue that's arisen through the plan making process. It feels like it's a bit of a Cinderella issue. It's not as prominent as housing needs, and certainly in terms of how it is. It's turning into a bit of a rant about the planning system in terms of how it's planned for nationally. It's not given the same precision as the housing target, whether that's through the policy on approach applied by the London Plan or the policy off approach applied by the standard method. In terms of our engagement, that we have engaged with our neighbouring partners through the processes and the forums that have already been discussed and covered. There has been a level of engagement with the industry through the technical evidence-based building process. So that principally picks up market signals, and I would strongly suggest to the examination that's possibly the most valuable area of intelligence that has influenced the Council's approach around this particular matter. Clearly, we've also engaged with the Greater London Authority representing the Mayor of London, and briefly around that issue, because I'm certain it will be addressed under other matters as well. We were informed at Regulation 19 stage that the Mayor of London had identified an area of concern around general conformity, principally around, I think, policy EC2 and how EC2 seeks to manage the provision of industrial employment land provision specifically. And this plays into the proposed modifications and the agreement that's been reached with the Greater London Authority on behalf of the Mayor, specifically in relation to what the Greater London Authority described as the sort of the heavy, dirty industrial uses that historically and traditionally locate to, for example, the vast tracts of railway land that sit in the north of the borough, but equally other tracts of railway land across the borough. And I'm certain we can, over the course of the next few weeks, speak expansively about those opportunities as they already exist. That issue was the subject of significant discussion. I can speak from personal experience, significant discussion following the Regulation 19 consultation. The Council and Greater London Authority colleagues have sought to positively resolve that. That resolution process has involved the production of additional supplementary evidence that drilled down into the sort of the industrial need and how Lewisham meets that need, and that goes back to the point I make about market intelligence and what the market is actually looking for, but I'm certain we will speak about that in detail at another point. That additional intelligence was then followed up by a negotiated solution, which is evidenced through the Statement of Common Ground with the Mayor of London, signed his behalf by the Greater London Authority. And that seeks to introduce, I will call it a baseline position for increasing industrial capacity, principally on existing strategic industrial location sites, that has been incorporated into the new local plan through policy EC2, through its supporting text, and is reflected through the local plan monitoring process that seeks to identify performance and the need for any interventions.
Thank you for that. That's helpful. You said earlier in response to an earlier question that the GLA had withdrawn their objections. Now, is that sort of withdrawn verbally, or was there anything in writing to say that we formally withdraw these objections?
I'd like to hope that's satisfied through the Statement of Common Ground. I believe I'm possibly paraphrasing. I don't have an encyclopedic brain, but I believe that the words that the Statement of Common Ground uses are subject to the introduction of, and its reference to proposed modifications and the monitoring regime, that their concerns are satisfied and there are no issues of general conformity.
For that, that's helpful.
Just moving on to the Bakerloo line extension, which I think is going to come up throughout the various hearing sessions. I would just focus today in terms of the discussions around the Bakerloo line extension and how the council engaged with partners on that particular subject. And I think in particular, it'd be interesting to hear how discussions have evolved in terms of the timing of the Bakerloo line extension, particularly around the uncertainty of the timing of the delivery of the extension and how to deal with that uncertainty in the plan. It'd be really helpful to hear a summary of those discussions.
Yes, I can pick that up. So yes, I mean the Bakerloo line upgrade and extension is a strategic infrastructure improvement proposal which the borough strongly supports, and with its partners, TfL, the London Borough of Southwark, GLA, etc., we have been promoting within the process of the local plan and out with the process as well. I think it's important to note that the council is a key partner for the proposal, but it won't be responsible for leading the delivery. That is the responsibility of Transport for London. And just in terms of public engagement, wider public engagement, TfL have done substantial public engagement, 3 rounds in 2014, 2017 and 2019, of which I think there are 9,000 responses, and the overwhelming majority, I think it was 90% or 89%, were in favour of that significant of infrastructure. So it's clearly a piece of infrastructure that we would want to deliver and secure. And I think the question has been, and you're right to raise this, but how we represent that opportunity and that proposal within a local plan. So just to be absolutely clear, the local plan is not predicated on the delivery of the Bakerloo line extension. And again, this will probably come up in our integrated impact assessment, assessing the options. We are aware that in terms of our preferred option for growth would be our spatial strategy with the Bakerloo line extension being delivered. However, the local plan is not predicated on the delivery of the BLE. So what we've sought to do is we've sought to include this important infrastructure, transport infrastructure. Sorry.
Just before you move on, the preferred option, scenario 1. Just thinking about the integrated impact assessment, the preferred option is scenario 1. Doesn't include the uplift Bakerloo line.
Yes, apologies. Sorry. In an ideal world, the council would certainly welcome the Bakerloo line extension and have a strong commitment from infrastructure partners that can be delivered. Unfortunately, we're not in that position because of the finances of TfL. So in terms of the preferred option for the integrated impact assessment, it is not reliant on the delivery of the Bakerloo line extension. So we have been working very closely with TfL and working with GLA, looking at how we then represent that within the plan, which within its plan period could very well see the introduction of the Bakerloo line extension, and what the opportunities therefore are of in some areas, an increase in delivery rate. In other areas such as Belgreen, Lower Sydenham, it could result in an increase in capacity and an uplift in density associated with that increase in public transport accessibility. So that is the line that we've been trying to manage and navigate through this process in what is fair to say, in not an ideal situation with the lack of concrete certainty of the Bakerloo line extension. Now, I understand, again, we meet on a regular basis, monthly basis with TfL, with Southwark and with the GLA as part of the partnership for the Bakerloo line extension. We're also working with Central London Forward, looking at the economic impact of the Bakerloo line extension. We have done multiple studies together, looking at the business case, again updating the economic argument for this line. So we understand that there was a position prior to the COVID pandemic where TfL were very encouraged by the business case and encouraged by options to fund the Bakerloo line extension. Now, that was turned upside down with COVID-19 and the funding issues that TfL have had since then. There is much more positive soundings coming from TfL now in terms of the delivery of the Bakerloo line extension, and particularly its priority as a strategic project across London. That is why, and I'm sure we'll hear from our colleagues from TfL at later matters, that is why we are updating our the business case for this now, and looking at ways in which we can deliver this project in order to get us, in a strong position. And I believe TfL have indicated that they should have a degree of certainty by 2028 as to whether or not this project is likely to move ahead and move forward. I don't know.
Just to add for the inspectors and the examinations benefit, colleagues, partners from Transport for London and from Southwark will be in attendance, and I believe if it's today or tomorrow, and can contribute on this matter. I think what I'd hope is that their attendance will demonstrate to you both that the very positive and solid partnership working that continues on this strategic and indeed, as the Council's opening statement said, nationally important investment project. Thank you.
In terms of the discussions surrounding the extension to the Bakerloo line, this uncertainty, were partners happy with the approach of the plan, almost to try and give the extension a wink and a nod, if you like, in the plan, but without being fully based on that line standard, which obviously would have been at some level.
Yes, absolutely, and hopefully that will be discussed this afternoon. But yes, TfL are supportive of our approach that we've taken.
I am conscious of time. Also aware that WSP, on behalf of Sainsbury's, I'm sure we'll come on to the site specifics of this, that they have suggested that the Council and TfL have not engaged properly, that it was only a tick box exercise in terms of duty to cooperate. I just wanted to give the authority the chance to respond to that within the context to cooperate.
Yeah, there has been extensive engagement and consultation, both from a TfL's perspective to WSP and also from a council perspective to WSP and the landowners there as well. We were engaged in pre-application discussions with them at one stage as well, where we were discussing this site, and we've also met with them on a number of occasions as well, discuss the work that we are carrying out in partnership with TfL. And obviously we have the safeguarding directions from the Secretary of State, which cover particularly the action work site. Sainsbury's and WSP will discuss.
I think we can pick up my other questions in the transport sessions. Just conscious of time, are there any other strategic issues on which the Council has engaged, and if so, what was the outcome of the engagement? Just to expedite matters, obviously we'll have seen your written response to that question, so if there are any particular issues wanted to flag up. Session. And just by way of a roundup, in overall terms, has the Council engaged constructively, actively and on an ongoing basis in maximising the effectiveness of the preparation of?
Yes, we fundamentally believe that we have engaged with all relevant partners. We've sought to be open and transparent through the process, and hopefully that is captured within our duty to cooperate and the statements of common ground that we've provided you with.
Best to do. Well, thank you very much for that. That rounds up our questions in terms of duty to cooperate. And it's now 1 o'clock, so we shall adjourn until 2 o'clock to discuss the spatial strategy. Thank you very much.